What are you saying, ladies and gents? It is your boy, Buckout Sam, and we are doing my Game Week 28 Premier League predictions. Now, I'm being honest, I genuinely believe this is probably the most important. This is. What are you saying, ladies and gents? It is your boy, Buckout Sam. We're back again today for another video. Today's video, I'm doing my Game Week 28 Premier League predictions. Now, I believe this is genuinely the most influential and important game week of the season. There are so many massive games throughout this game week, and I cannot wait to watch them, predict them. But let's get right into it. The first game of the game week, we've got Manchester United versus Everton. Now, this is a massive game for both sides. This is kind of, let's be honest, a lot of people are talking about Ten Hag and about the fact that he's only got a few games left. He's got 3 games left. Supposedly, it's this, the Liverpool game, and then the Brentford game, which is his kind of decide. It's either Brentford or Palace. I can't think off the top of my head. One of the two is his massive decider. This is the kind of time where the new Jim Ratcliffe is going to be looking, and the Ineos group are looking to decide, is he going to keep his job off the back of these games? And they're going up against an Everton side that, let's be honest, have been really poor in the last 10 games or so. They've just really not looked themselves, because they started off this season quite well, considering how the points dropped. They looked strong, but recently performances have been absolutely dreadful. They're the XG kings. They can't stop creating chances, but they just can't score whatsoever, with the likes of Beto, Harrison, McNeil, Calvert-Lewin, Decore. All the goals have really dried up. But I think, in my opinion, this is going to be a 2-1 Man United home win. I just don't see that Everton can go to Old Trafford and really get a result here. I don't think they've got enough firepower, but I think they are going to score, because I just think the Man United defence is too leaky. Now, onto the second game of the game week. We've got Crystal Palace at home to Luton. Now, this is a massive game for both sides. Obviously, with the new gaffer at Crystal Palace, they had the manager bounce against Burnley, and then the second fixture was a difficult one, let's be honest. So it's a really difficult one, because they've played Tottenham and Burnley, two kind of opposite ends of the spectrum and the scale. But I think this is a massive test against the Luton side, which we know have got great fight and they've shown determination throughout the season. But they just haven't got that cutting edge that we've spoken about. Again, it's similar to Everton in the same situation. That's why they're both now down towards the bottom. But the thing is, with Luton, they've still got something to play for. A lot of people have said they were going to be down and buried already by this time of the season. They've been really, really strong this season. But the thing is, they've got Everton and they've got Nottingham Forest with those 10-point deductions potentially, or any points deductions looming over. So they've got to just keep getting results and perform as well as they can to try and get something out of this season. And they could easily still stay up. So I think this is why this is an interesting game. But I do believe Crystal Palace have got that firepower compared to Luton. The squad, I think, is really, really strong. So I'm going to go for a Crystal Palace 3-1 home win, because we've seen Luton's away form hasn't been brilliant this season. And Crystal Palace, when Selhurst Park is rocking, it is absolutely unreal. And this should be a really good reception. We saw what it was like for his first game against Burnley with that manager cam on the side. He was absolutely loving it. And that's why I think it's going to be a very good game. 3-1, as I said, to Crystal Palace. Now, on to the third game of the game week. We have got Bournemouth versus Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United, in my opinion, have been one of the worst Premier League sides we have ever seen. And they're just really, really struggling. And we saw when Chris Wilder came in, people saying, okay, they're going to fight again, but they've not shown any fight whatsoever. They look so poor. They look like they're already down and relegated, let's be honest. They've not shown any determination. I really feel for the fans. An away game, away at Bournemouth, and Bournemouth have been firing on all cylinders, let's be honest. They're currently sat 13th in the league. It has been a great turnaround for Iraola, because at one point earlier on in the season, the two of these sides were without a win. The two of these sides we were discussing as the relegation candidates, but they have climbed up the table, Bournemouth, and the performances have been great. Players like Solanke fighting to get on that plane, and I think it's going to be another dominant performance. I just can't see Sheffield United scoring, and Bournemouth have been scoring bucket loads this season, so I'm going to go for a Bournemouth 3-0 home win. Yes, it's a big one there. Now, on to the next game of the game. We have got Wolves in 10th against Fulham in 12th. Now, this is a really interesting one. This is two sides that have had really, really good seasons. Both of them seem to have gone kind of unnoticed, under the radar. I think Marcus Silva, the job he's done at Fulham has been absolutely huge. And I think Muniz, who has kind of replaced Mitrovic, has been really good. Wolves have had a really good season. I thought they were going to get relegated along with a lot of other people, and they've kind of really surprised a lot of people. But I do really feel for the Wolves, because they've had a lot of injuries recently. So many players in that last fixture. You even saw Jose Sarr, João Gomez, lots of players injured. So I really do think they're going to struggle here. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Fulham away win, another win for Fulham. Yes, there's not going to be many goals in this, because Wolves defensively have been quite strong. So I think it's only going to be by the one, but it's going to be a very tight affair. Two sides definitely staying up, and both had amazing seasons. Now, on to the next game. We have got Arsenal in third against Brentford in 15th. Now, this, for me, is a really interesting game. And for some reason, I know Arsenal have got a good record against Brentford, but I always cast my mind back to that first game where Ben White was playing against even Tony. First time Brentford had come up, it was that first game of the season, and they absolutely battered Arsenal. But this Arsenal is a new beast. It is a different animal, and I've spoken about this before. This Arsenal side, in my opinion, is going to win the league. I've said that already on multiple videos. That's my prediction. But I think they are just on another level. They cannot simply stop scoring. There have been goals galore since the start of the new year in the league. I think they've only conceded 2 goals in 2024, and they come up against a Brentford side that, let's be honest, they've had a pretty poor season, subpar compared to last season. But I think this is kind of their level. They kind of should really be expecting, especially when their main man, even Tony out and Mbeumo out injured at times. I think this is kind of the level that they really should be aiming for, just outside the relegation zone. But they'd want to kind of have a bit more of a cushion. But I do think Arsenal are going to win at home as well at the Emirates. It's going to be absolutely rocking. And they're going to want to be putting the pressure back onto the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City with the fact that they're both playing the day after. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 Arsenal win. Yes, I'm predicting a lot of goals here, I've already noticed. Now, on to the next game. We have got Aston Villa in 4th against Spurs in 5th. Now, this is going to sound controversial, but for me, this is the game of the weekend. I cannot wait for this game. I think there are so many points to this, which is absolutely massive. This is huge for the Champions League race because obviously with the English coefficient not really performing, it looks like it's only be 4 sides that are going to qualify for the Champions League next season. So that adds a little bit extra to this, an extra little bit of spice, you may say. And that's why I'm excited for this. I've done a combined 11. I've seemed to really upset a lot of Spurs fans with my combined 11, saying that I think Villa, let's be honest, I think have performed better this season. It's at Aston Villa. I look at the two squads. Yes, I know. I've just literally yesterday watched Aston Villa play against Ajax, and a good 0-0 draw on a Thursday night, and they didn't play with their strongest 11. There's going to be a lot of players that were rested and a lot of players who didn't get too many minutes in the game that are going to be playing up against this Tottenham side. It's at Aston Villa. Yes, I know Tottenham now are a really interesting side, and both sides love to play with that high line. So I think there's going to be a few goals in this game. There's going to be a lot of chances and a lot of offsides. We saw earlier on in the season on that Sunday, on that Super Sunday when it was at Tottenham, it was a really, really good game. Watkins, Son, so many players stepping up in that game. And I cannot wait for this next fixture. And I think Aston Villa are going to win this 2-1 because it is at Aston Villa. And I think that just adds a little bit extra to this. And I think it's going to be huge for the Champions League race. Now, on to the next game. We have got West Ham United versus Burnley. Now, West Ham in 7th and Burnley in 19th. Now, I spoke about Sheffield United being one of the worst Premier League sides I've ever seen. But I think what adds to this, and what I think is even worse, is this Burnley side, because Burnley invested nearly 100 million into this squad. You look at Sheffield United, they lost some of their best players, like Ndai, Van der Berg. Players like that, they lost out last season. Whereas Burnley invested in this squad, and they just look so poor. And I've spoken about it quite often on my podcast, which is called Bucket as Sam Talks Ball Podcast, out on all platforms. A link to that will be down below. I think it's kind of a really weird thing with this narrative with Company. I think it's quite, I don't know if it's naive the way he's playing, the way he's kind of not defending, not focused on defending, trying to play the same way, or is it overconfident? Is it arrogance? I think it's more so arrogance because really you should kind of play with the cards you dealt with. Look at the situation. We can't go toe to toe with some of these sides, and especially the West Ham side that, off the back of a disappointing result against Freiburg in the Europa League this week with the 1-0 loss, I think they're going to want to bounce back, especially after that really good, strong, solid end performance against Everton last weekend. So they want to try and carry that momentum through to this game. I believe West Ham at home are going to win this one 2-0 and going to push on for that Europa Conference League or Europa League position. And Burnley they just simply aren't good enough. Now, on to the next game, we have got Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. Now, Brighton, after a really disappointing result, they got absolutely battered in Rome. It was a really, really poor performance. Dybala, Lukaku, it's a difficult one. You want to see more from them, more fight, but they kind of tried to go toe-to-toe, and then that Daniel De Rossi side is absolutely firing all cylinders since he's been appointed. But they're playing against a Nottingham Forest side, a depleted Nottingham Forest side, off the back of that Liverpool resilient performance, but they let themselves down. I know they keep pointing their fingers at the referee for the decision, but I still got to look at players like Alanga, Awonye, and you look around and Hudson-Odoi, they missed so many chances in that game. They really should have beaten Liverpool, let's be honest, or even got a draw out of it. And that's where I kind of look at this Nottingham Forest side and I think something's not right. The performances are there, but they just simply cannot finish their dinner. And I've spoken about it so often on these videos, and that's why I don't think they're going to win here. I think it is going to be a 2-1 Brighton home win. Now, I think what another part of that is because Brighton obviously don't keep clean sheets. So Forest will still get a goal, but I think they're going to win 2-1 Brighton. They're going to want to bounce back, as I said, after that disappointing result in the week and the disappointing result the weekend before against Fulham. Now, on to the ninth game of the game week, the big one, the one that everyone's talking about, the title decider. It's kind of given us old school vibes from a couple of years ago when Liverpool and Man City were the two kind of front runners every year, and this was the biggest game always. I'm so excited to watch this, and apologies to my mother on Mother's Day because I will not be spending it with her. I'll be watching this game because it's going to be an absolute corker. Liverpool currently top in the league against Man City, who are second in the league. This is an absolute belter of a game. Now, I cannot wait for this, and I think it's a really interesting one. I personally look at the situation. Obviously, I know Liverpool a really convincing win in the Europa League on Thursday, a really good result. Man City, they're going unbeaten now for so long. A convincing, dominating performance against that Man United side last week. Now, I think Man City are just going to about edge this, and I just think it's purely down to the fact that those Liverpool injuries, you can't ignore it. You can't look at it. Obviously, with Konate as well going off injured on Thursday night, you look at it as a whole situation, kind of just step back and you just think, man for man, performances, each player, individual battles, you feel like Man City should really dominate this. And I think we've seen how convincing they've been recently. So I think Man City are going to win this 2-1, but it's going to be a really good affair end to end. We've seen this Man City side, it's a little bit vulnerable. Same with this Liverpool side. Both of these sides, considering they're both at the top, been performing well, they've both looked a bit more defensively vulnerable than they have done in previous years. So I think that's why it's going to add to this game. And I'm intrigued to see how it goes. Obviously, Liverpool currently in the driving seat, but I just think, even though off the back of that recent performance and getting that win late on, I just think Man City is just too dominant. So I believe Manchester City will win this, as I said, 2-1. Now, on to the final game of the game week, the Monday night fixture. Another massive game. We have got Chelsea currently in 11th against Newcastle, who are in 8th. Now, the two of these sides have been kind of battling it out. Both have had, let's be honest, poor seasons. They've not been great, both of them. But Newcastle obviously have had a lot of injuries and they've been competing, just pushing, trying to just nudge themselves into those European positions. Whereas Chelsea this season's a bit of a free hit for them off the back of losing that League Cup final. It's they've written off this season. I can't see them getting any European football. So it's kind of like, what do you expect from this game? Now, two sides that are trying to push on, trying to progress, and trying to bounce back from an okay, but as I said, subpar season. But I do think this is going to be a stalemate, 1-1 draw. I think it's going to be a good game, as we've said. We've seen both of these sides, again, struggling and being extremely vulnerable defensively. But again, they've both not been electric going forward. I think players like Gordon, Trippier are going to be massive in this game for Newcastle. But I do think, as I said, it is going to be a stalemate, 1-1 draw. But as I said, let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts, your predictions in the comments. I always reply and read every single comment, so let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Please do smash the like button and do subscribe. Appreciate the fact that we're already at 5k and we're working our way to get 100,000 followers. That is the aim on this page. Go check out all the other socials that I do and get in touch and let me know your thoughts. Thank you. Bucket Sam, over and out. I'll see you with the next video. Goodbye.